9:02. Let's keep it on the phones and bring on Senator Regine Biscoe Lee onto the show. Good morning, Senator. I guess, you had a big oversight hearing. I guess we'll start there. What was your takeaway of that?
So this is actually the second hearing that we've had for Guam Department of Labor. And, so many people on our island are, anxiously awaiting this all these unemployment benefits to roll out. So it's really important that we, as the legislative branch, stay on top of it, make sure that we help to get the information out to the public and really provide some strong oversight over these federal dollars that are coming in to Guam for unemployment. And I think that, while a lot of progress has been made and GDOL has been working really, really hard on all of this, we still have so much more to go. And it's, people have been waiting for months now. They have gone for months without a paycheck. And so we are very cognizant of that. We're pushing them really, really hard to try to get this done, but we also want it to be done correctly. Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the questions that were asked yesterday and part of the presentation that GDOL gave to us.
Were you satisfied with the responses you received in terms of why it's taken so long?
I don't think anybody is satisfied with any of the responses with why it's taken so long, but I think, we also have to be mindful of the fact that Guam is pretty much the only place in the country that doesn't have unemployment insurance already stood up. Mm-hmm. And when you look at some of the other jurisdictions, they're also having problems and they already have an unemployment program in place. Mm-hmm. So I can see, where some of our issues are happening in terms of those things and trying to stand up a online portal and making sure that we do all of these things correctly, because it's a lot of sensitive information that we're going to be sharing and asking people to give us. Mm-hmm. So there's so many of these things that are kind of going on. It's going on behind the scenes, but it for somebody who is trying to feed their family and just is running out of money, mm-hmm. all of those just sound like excuses. And so we're really trying to push them to make sure that they are able to roll it out as soon as possible, get these EFTs into the banks or checks in the hands of people so that they can, pay their utility bills, pay their rent, and feed their kids. So that's really what has been the focus in really trying to get them to move it along and make sure that there's no just any kind of roadblocks that would derail the process.
Mm-hmm. So right now, what was the update? So people are able to apply?
Yeah, so the update was basically that up until this point, we've had about 1,200 employers and over 23,000 employee separations already recorded on Hire Guam. So that's the number that we're kind of anticipating hearing from. And then we already have about, as of yesterday, 8,562 claims filed so far. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to hear that GDO is working to resolve some of the issues that people might have. The director was mentioning that a big chunk of the issues were user error. And, it's really challenging because we're asking some people who aren't so online savvy or don't have access necessarily to a lot of these online applications to try to get up online and do all of these things. It's a big challenge. So I'm really glad to hear that, the business community is stepping up. A lot of employers are trying to help their employees through this process, but it's really going to take a community effort. So another big part of that is because this online application is so daunting, GDOL is standing up a service center at the Guam Community College. Right. So, just to get that in person, there's a lot of anxiety sometimes with people. And again, they've been waiting for so long. And a lot of times that you just really need to speak to somebody to make sure that you're filling everything out correctly, that you're able to get the right amount of benefit.
Have we heard when that's going to open?
I believe it's going to open next week.
Wow. So were you able to find out anything else about the turnaround time? Because we had Dave on, and he said from the receipt of the application to the pay or the review period anyway is supposed to be something like 21 days. And I know he said that was the regulation of it, and he was going to do his best to do it quicker. So what were you able to find out about that?
Yeah, my understanding is it wouldn't be 21 days. That would be the maximum time. But if somebody has a bank account, and all the information is inputted and they select electronic funds transfer, that's really the fastest way for you to get your money. It's also, in my mind, the safest way, because if you take a, $8,000 check and you go cash it, you're walking around with all that money on you. It's much easier, I think, and much more effective to have that electronic funds transfer. So it's my understanding that if all the fields are filled out correctly, they're able to process these things within, maybe 48 hours and get that money into the hands of people within that allotted time. So the 21-day thing, I think a lot of people were freaked out by that, but that's my understanding is it would be 21 days at the very longest, and that's if there's, complications and issues that need to be fixed back and forth. It could take up to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Did he say what was the quickest?
Yeah, so that's why I think he's encouraging everybody to try to get a bank account set up and get electronic funds transfer, so that as soon as everything is correct, and again, they've sent out this checklist of things that you want to have at the ready for your application. He was even saying if you are able to provide some of these letters and some of this documentation, just take a picture of it with your phone, make sure that it's clear and easy to read, upload that, and they will accept those kinds of documents as verification. So there's a couple of steps along the way, and again, this is just to prevent fraud. This is to make sure that we're doing things properly. This is a lot of federal money that we're getting, so we really need to be on the ball and make sure that we're, treating this with respect, that we want to make sure that we're doing it right.
Did he say when the next installment was coming? Because it was only the $267 million, and I think we're trying to get $950 million total.
Yeah, that's correct. So once we begin drawing down on the existing money that we have, and we have a better understanding and idea of what it is that we need, USDOL will automatically upload the remaining into the account.
What was your, do you have a reaction to what the Republican Party of Guam was raising and Senator Moylan about hiring all of these individuals, the 31 employees, and with salaries of, gosh, I don't have it. Let's see if I have a project manager with benefits, $163,000. They're going to need 14 customer service representatives for $77,000.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we hire all these people because, Bree, here are the facts. Again, 1,200 employers and 23,000 people on our island have already told us that they have been separated. There are over 8,000 claims so far. So unemployment benefits are, the single largest category of federal assistance that we're receiving. So it's so critical to have experienced professionals helping to execute this program.
What if we go in though? Sorry. Go ahead.
And Chris, I just will say that, wow, 31 people that we're going to be hiring to do all of this work. And I've been told that these salaries are based on the GovGuam pay scale and that these positions have been vetted and approved by USDOL. So it looks to me like I want somebody who's, educated. I want somebody who has professional experience in these roles to be handling all this money.
Are these people already hired? Are they already hired?
We have requested, and as part of our oversight, we've requested the staffing pattern. So we hope to be getting that in the next few days. So I'm not aware. We've requested the staffing pattern, and I think that we need to trust that GDOL will do the right thing, but we also have to verify. And that's the reason why.
Especially if these are the most experienced people and they've come with all of these qualifications. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see who these people are. Me too. Because we want to, be sure that we continue to provide this transparency and accountability.
Right.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, we talk about trust, but we had to override Bill 333.
I like what he said, trust and verify.
No, you have to verify. And that's the big part of what our branch is supposed to do. We're supposed to be providing this oversight for them. And that's, again, why we continue. We've had 2 hearings over the past 3 weeks. I know Dave and his team are really, really busy, and we thank them for that. But a big part of the work that you do is communicating what it is that you're doing to the public.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, the program that you guys are doing and all of our media partners, making sure that we're on top of all of this is so important.
Since we do have you on the phone, I wanted to ask, because I didn't realize we interviewed Parks and Recs about the whole pool situation, and I think there was a public hearing that was scheduled yesterday to provide funding. And when we spoke with John Birch, it was like the plan is we want to build a brand new Agano pool. And it's still, going through the process over at DPW. Did you participate in that public hearing yesterday?
No, unfortunately, nobody did because it was rescheduled.
Okay, all right.
So I was pretty upset. Obviously, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know that we're in session. We have a lot of these other things going on, but, kids and adults and people with individuals in our community with disabilities, they're waiting to have this pool back up and running. It's just, and our park situation, I've been taking my kids to EPAL Park almost every other day just to try to get them out, run some of their energy out. And it's the grass is growing, bathrooms are locked. I mean, this is a constant problem, and I just don't understand why it is. I haven't had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Birch. I really am looking forward to it. And I hope that he's going to do a much better job. But yeah, I hope that he and his team also understand that this is not something that's going to go away from you. We need to be relentless in our pursuit of making sure that, these facilities are open and available to the public, especially if we're going to, try and launch. I heard Jerry Paris on your show earlier and try and bring, people to come visit our island. Like, that's the last thing you want to do is go to a crappy public restroom that stinks. But yeah.
Yeah, I immediately thought of you when I heard the pool. I was like, oh man, I wonder if Senator Regine knows about what's happening.
It sounds like Birch just wants to skip the maintenance and just build a new pool and just be done with it.
Well, you said it was
and hey, if you're able to find the funding, then that's great. If you're able to find a couple million bucks, find the money, please, because we really, really need it. We really need it.
One of course, the big item on the session floor this week has been the health insurance choice bill. You kind of want to go in on that and give us your take, because I know you're one of the big voices at the hearing.
Yeah, I've asked a lot of questions about this bill. It's really important that we get down to the nitty-gritty of it. We were able to set that bill aside and focus on some other things while they try to fix amendments and try to get some answers to the questions that we've been asking. So I'm really looking forward to hearing back from the sponsors of the bill and just get a little bit more information before we move forward.
At the beginning of this discussion, it was before the COVID, it seemed pretty simple, is that just people were upset that they didn't have a choice. But now with this being heard this week, I mean, so close and so late in the game, has that changed the main point of it for you, Senator?
Well, yeah, one of the questions that I asked about was the timing, right? The timing of this bill. And the sponsor has indicated that he is open to kind of pushing this back so it doesn't conflict with any of the current negotiations that are going on. But, yeah, let me tell you, we've heard from a lot of people that they're just very frustrated with the situation. My concern is, does this bill fix that automatically? And I'm thinking that the answer is no. And so, this is something that people think is going to be a quick fix. And I think, we really need to ask a lot of questions and make sure that we're communicating with the public and making sure that the public knows what the consequences of this bill will be in terms of additional government spending or placing a lot of the onus on our employees and especially our retirees with fixed income. So that's always going to be my concern, is making sure that, that people have access to care, quality care, but that they can afford it too. Because
what do you say?
It doesn't matter if it's a Cadillac plan if he can't, he can't afford it.
What would you say to those people who continually voice their frustrations with the sole source contract, who were kind of thinking when this bill was introduced before the COVID that maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of them getting a choice? Because we're talking to retirees and government employees, and I mean that it's pretty simple to them, right? So
Right. So I just want to just clarify something. It wasn't necessarily a sole source contract. Many people had the opportunity to bid, and then they had the negotiating team kind of go through and figure out which one was the best and most economical plan, right? So there is, in a way, there's multiple choices, and the negotiating team chooses on behalf of the active employees and the retirees which they think would be the best plan. And they have to provide a plan that meets all of these basic requirements, right?
I think he was talking about the quarantine contracts. So just
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
There's a lot going on here, guys.
Hey, so was there a message, Senator, that you got from Senator Pito that was going around? Can you verify if that is actually from him?
Yeah, we received a Dear Colleague letter this morning. There's been a lot of things going on this morning, so I need to, sit down and actually go through it.
Dear Colleague letter?
Yes, to all senators.
Right. And so were you able to look at that? Can you tell us anything else about it? Have there been other communications with the senator?
No, just that Dear Colleague letter from this morning.
Okay. All right.
All right. I think was there anything else you wanted to get out? Anything?
Well, I know that, a lot of people around the country and even people here on Guam have been kind of fixated and their hearts really go out to a lot of the people who are experiencing some trauma with regard to Black Lives Matter and this movement that's going on in the States. And I just wanted to take a moment to just say that confronting racism is never easy. It's never a comfortable situation, but I think, we can all agree that nobody deserves to be met with hate or violence because of the color of their skin or where they're born. And so I think here on Guam, it's really important for us to take some time to look inward and as an island commit to really practicing what we preach and having these tough conversations with ourselves, with family and friends, but also looking at how our own prejudices against minorities in our community might result in hate or violence towards other people. So, just taking a pause and thinking of what all that's going on out there, what that means to us.
Right
on.
I
know that there are protests. Yeah, there are protests planned for tomorrow, and I encourage people to practice social distancing, use your mask. But if you feel inclined, please participate.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
All right, take good care, you guys.
Take care.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Okay. 9:19. Hey, we're gonna take just a real short break, and we're coming back with. We're trying to squeeze our last few guests in here. The Director of Agriculture, Chelsea Munoz-Brecht. Wanted to bring her on to kind of talk about this thing that's got a lot of my fisherman's friends excited. Their CARES Act funding.
Fundings.
If you're a pescador, you could get some federal dollars. So we'll tell you how. Next, right here on the KUAM News, Takeover Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Good morning.
Half a day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive PUA benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least 3 different employers about job openings. Be sure to upload a valid government-issued ID and supporting documents to strengthen your claim. Congratulations! You have completed the PUA claim filing process. It's time to file your weekly claim. Click on the File Your Weekly Claim button to proceed. Read through the explanation of the weekly certification process and advisories before proceeding. Notice that the weekly certification process begins the week in which you claimed as your last day of work. Answer each page honestly and input additional information as required. However, if you have since returned to work, be sure that on the weekly claim of the day you returned, you adjust your weekly earnings accordingly. Congratulations! You have filed your weekly claim. Make sure you file for all previous weeks you were affected to present. Now continue to file every week thereafter to receive unemployment benefits for those weeks. For more information on how the Guam Department of Labor can assist you, visit our website at dol.guam.gov.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self Storage, conveniently located